In this lesson, I'll give you an overview of the API Demos application chapter. I'll outline the lessons included in the chapter and give you a quick look at the API Demos app itself. The API Demos app, shown here in the emulator, is included in the sample apps. It provides a simple demonstration of over 300 Android features and includes many tens of thousands of lines of code. This gives you, as an Android developer, access to application code patterns that can speed development and provide insights into the functioning of Android APIs. The API Demo app is a bit different than the apps we've used so far in the course. It's much, much larger, and it's included in the emulator. You shouldn't need to run the app using the emulator debugger to see it function. I'll explain more about this shortly. So let's take a look at it. We click on the app. We see the app home screen shown here that lists the primary categories of API demonstrations. These include accessibility, animation, app, content, graphics, media, NFC, OS preference, text, and views. And we'll be going through each of these in detail. So for the moment, don't worry about exactly what each category means. Some of the categories are divided into subcategories. For example, if we click on animation, we find another group of about a dozen or so demos. If I click on, say, bouncing balls, it brings up a demo that shows an animation of bouncing balls when I click on the screen. In the chapter lessons, I'll show you how to navigate around the app, find the demos you need, and locate the source code in Eclipse. Now, if I click the back button, I can get back to the home screen. And if I click back again, it takes me to the launcher. And if I click back again, the home screen for the emulator. Now, in my launcher home screen, I've included the API Demos app. So let me show you how to move the icon to your home screen if you'd like to do that. It's a convenient place to have it. So you're probably familiar with this already. But let me remove the one that I have there already. Go back. Click and hold, and place it on my home screen. Now, you should be able to find this app preloaded in your emulator. However, you still need to load the app into your Eclipse workspace. So let's look over here in Eclipse, and you see I've already loaded the API Demos app. We'll go through this in just a moment. To get the API Demo app loaded into your workspace, you have a few options. First, you can use a wizard. To do that, you'd click File, New, Other, and click Android Sample Project. Next, select the target. I'm using Android 4.2. Click Next, select API Demos, and then it's already loaded in my workspace, so I can't click Finish. I'm going to click Cancel, but you would click Finish and it would be loaded into your workspace. Another option you have is to use the Working Files Samples Workspace API Demos app. You could use a wizard to load it into your own workspace or use the Sample Files workspace. Once it's loaded, you can expand the folders to see the contents. And there are a large number of files in many of the app folders. And let's look at the source folder first, which we see here, which I've already expanded. And you'll see a series of additional folders. And these represent the main categories of the API samples. So let's go back and open up the API Demos app again. You see those main categories. So you see this is the code for the app overall running the main screen. And then you see how we have accessibility, animation, app, and so forth. There are a couple of additional folders, like Cube, which is associated with graphics, but we'll leave those details for a later discussion. Let's take a look in the animation folder. I've expanded it, and we see the app demonstration Java source files. And remember our bouncing balls example we looked at. Let's bring it up again. And the corresponding file is here. Happens to be called bouncing balls. And if we double-click on that, then we get the code here in the center window. And if you were including the bouncing balls in your app, once you found the Java code, you might use the entire Java code file as a starter for your app, or you might use pieces of it, or you might just want to understand how a bouncing balls display is created. And now let's take a look at some of the other folders. For example, the Resources folder. In the Animation subfolder, it's quite large. Drawables. There's a lot of entries. Layouts. And Menu. And we'll be looking at a number of these in detail. Right now, I'm just giving you a look at the general organization and scope of the app, and as you can see, it's large in many aspects. In this chapter, I'll show you how to use the API Demos app to improve your knowledge of Android and find code to seed development of your applications. I'll show you how to use an Excel API demo worksheet I created that details the organization and content of the API Demos app so that you can find what you're looking for.